Afghan President Hamid Karzai has strongly condemned a NATO airstrike that killed 8 children in the northeast of the country. This comes as UN figures reveal that a record number of civilians were killed in 2011, the vast majority by roadside bombs. Earlier, the US announced that it may bring an early end to combat operations in Afghanistan, and more than 100,000 of civilians have died since the 2001 invasion. And to discuss the situation, we're now joined live by investigative journalist and historian Gareth Porter. Mr. Porter, thank you so much indeed for your time. So, President Karzai has launched an investigation into the NATO bombings, but incidents like this seem to keep happening. So, can we expect more than just condemnation from the Afghanistan president this time?
No, I don't think anything's changed, and this is a story that, of course, is just about as regular as washing your clothes every week or two. This is the price that Afghanistan pays for having foreign troops on its soil, troops which carry out operations that are based on, at best, imperfect intelligence, and at worst, simply lack of fundamental knowledge of local situations and mistakes that are often made, which result in innocent people being killed completely unnecessarily. And I would simply make one observation about the civilian casualty problem in Afghanistan. You mentioned the United Nations report on the problem of civilian casualties in 2011, and mentioned that most of the casualties are attributed to the Taliban, and most of them from IEDs, which explode on the roads. I would simply point out that the United Nations is not doing a responsible job of tracking civilian casualties that are the result of night raids by U.S. Special Operations Forces. They have basically taken the position that they cannot question what's going on in that program because they can't get any information about it. But I did a story a few months ago which showed that based on the official figures that the U.S. itself has put out, the U.S. NATO command in Kabul, about 1,500 people were killed, civilians were killed in 2010 alone in a period of 10 months. And these were people who happened on situations where the U.S. Special Forces were carrying out night raids. They were adult males almost exclusively, but they were killed because they had guns or because the U.S. soldiers thought they had guns. This is a terrible problem. The United States is not solving this problem. It is going to remain a problem for years to come under present U.S. plans because special forces are not going to be pulled out.
Yes, but why these numbers are growing? NATO promised to reduce civilian casualties in Afghanistan, so why are the numbers growing still?
The numbers are growing clearly because the Taliban has continued to expand its operations in response to the growth of U.S. and NATO troops. And part of the Taliban response, and I would say the single biggest part of that response, has been to lay more and more IEDs. This is the primary way that the Taliban has been able to find to kill U.S. and NATO troops, and even more so to wound seriously U.S. and NATO troops. So really that is the primary form of military pressure they have on U.S. NATO forces. They're not going to give it up. And that has grown because the war itself has grown as U.S. NATO troops have increased in the country.
Will the Afghan government be able to control the country after U.S. combat troops withdraw? May be earlier than expected.
Well, one of the indicators that the Afghan government is not going to be able to maintain control through its own security forces, the Afghan army and Afghan National Police, is a report that has been published here in the United States by a lieutenant colonel in the U.S. Army who has come back from Afghanistan after an 18-month tour, and who says, based on his own personal experience traveling all over Afghanistan, where U.S. and NATO forces are stationed, that he has found over and over again that the Afghan security forces have been unable and, in usual cases, unwilling to carry out operations effectively against the Taliban. And in many cases, he found that there were local accommodations that had been worked out secretly between the Afghan security forces and the local Taliban. Arrangements which were intercepted or found out by intercepting telephone conversations between the two.
All right. Investigative journalist and historian Gareth Porter, thank you very much indeed for sharing your views with us.